This is Unit 7, Video 1, Solutions, Percent Mass. So we're going to look at the mass percent of solutions. You've seen mass percent of an element in a compound. Well, if we have a mixture of compounds, we definitely can do the percent of one in the other. For instance, you go buy a bottle of rubbing alcohol. They might say on it 70%. Well, obviously that can be by volume or by mass, but if we take it by mass, then it's 70% alcohol out of alcohol-water combination, so that's a mixture. So percent mass, we know the formula is the mass of the part over the mass of the whole. So the mass percent is the mass of the part that we're interested in over the total mass. And then obviously being a percent, we're going to multiply by 100. So we've got to find out what part we're looking at. This fraction is always less than 1. Unless it's a pure substance, then it'll be 1 and the percent's 100%. Okay? So let's do a couple calculations. What's the mass percent of calcium chloride if 14.5 grams is dissolved in 100 grams of water? So we've got the mass of the part here, which is going to be our 14.5 grams. But the mass of the total is going to be the two added up. And that's the key to the whole thing. You got to recognize it's the total in the entire solution. So we're going to have 14.5 grams calcium chloride over 114.5 grams total. Then obviously we'll multiply that by 100. And that total percent is 12.7%. So again, this is the total, not the mass of the other component. We're not doing the ratio of the masses of the 2 or 3 components. We're doing the mass of the part over the whole. All right, another one here. We've got a salt solution, and we know its percent mass is 15.6% sodium chloride. We know the density of the solution is 1.11 gram per milliliter. We want to know the mass of salt that will be present in a 100 milliliter sample. So we're going to pull out a 100 milliliter sample. We could evaporate it and measure the mass of the salt there, or we can do our calculation here. Well, obviously, to use percent mass, we need the mass of the whole. We have the volume of the whole, but we do know its density. Now you know density is equal to mass over volume. So we've got 1.11 grams per milliliter equals the mass over 100 milliliters. Multiply that across, and this mass is 111 grams. This is our total mass. So the total mass of the solution, because density is always for the entire solution. It's not a part in a whole type relationship. It's the mass of the whole solution divided by the volume of the whole solution. So here, if we have a 100 milliliter sample, it will weigh 111 grams because the density is 1.11 grams per milliliter. Well, out of this total amount, we've got a certain percentage. Strip the percent off, and we know that 0.156 equals the mass of the part over the total mass, 111 grams. Multiply that across, and the mass, in this case the part is sodium chloride, equals 17.3 grams.